mapping the great indoors. It's a $2.5 billion market opportunity.
Thank you. We're moving the chair right in real time here. Okay, I have 5 panelists here. Why don't you all come on out? And these 5 panelists cover the gamut from the infrastructure platform providers to the map providers to the positioning systems and even applications that take advantage of all of those things. So in a half hour, we're going to try to cover the whole indoor ecosystem as quickly as we can. So to get started, let's start with Cormac on the end from Qualcomm. He's the infrastructure provider, the chips and the radios that are in our phones. So Cormac, introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Okay, hi Don, very happy to be here. So my name is Cormac Conroy. I lead the location technology team and product team in Qualcomm. So our vision is to deliver location all the time, everywhere, indoors and outdoors, with high degree of accuracy at low power. And our overall platform brand is IZAT, I-Z-A-T, where location is at. Our customers are handset makers, primarily where the underlying positioning or location technology to all of the major smartphone makers. We're also working very closely in the indoor ecosystem with other non-traditional partners, venues and map companies and application developers to really deliver a very accurate, always-on, ubiquitous location experience. So that's really our vision.
So Nathan, you're from aisle 411, so we go from the infrastructure level all the way up the stack to the end-user application level. So tell us what you do.
Sure. Well, I'm Nathan Pettyjohn. I'm the founder and CEO of aisle 411. And I'd like to ask with a show of hands, how many of you have ever found yourself frustrated navigating a Home Depot store trying to find something? 99.5% probably. We've all been in that situation when you're frustrated trying to find what you're looking for in a retail store. And so what aisle 411 does is we make all of that searchable. And you can now find products down to a section of an aisle that's located in a Home Depot or thousands of other locations. And so we've taken inventory data, in-store map data, focused specifically on retail, and made it searchable so you can find products, offers, and other things. And then we'll actually recommend products that might be relevant to you based upon what you're searching for. As Don mentioned, we have end-user applications on iOS and Android. We also have an API for our search functionality and a map SDK and an ad SDK. So we have major retailers that are using this. We launched with Walgreens a few months back, and they've taken our platform, embedded it into their application so that you can search indoor maps inside of all their 8,000 plus locations. So.
Anka, you provide the maps that you actually see on your phone. So say a little bit about what you do.
Hi everyone, my name is Ankit. I'm the founder CEO of Mycello. Mycello is a leading enterprise indoor mapping company. We do a couple things. The first is we offer our map data to some of the leading mapping and navigation companies. So if you zoom in on an outdoor map and see indoors, there's a good chance that data is coming from us. The second is we offer a maps platform, SDKs, to allow our customers to build indoor location-based applications. So, for example, Walmart launched with us about 2 weeks ago across all of their stores. So when you look for products, you can find some of the hot items on sale. And like that, in other verticals like healthcare, travel, hospitality, education, pretty much wherever you go, our objective is to map every interesting place in the world for a new class of location-based applications.
Joe, founder of Wi-Fi Slam, you use Wi-Fi technology to do positioning. So he's at the positioning level of the stack.
Yeah, that's right. So the way we look at it is we make indoor positioning completely self-serve, right? So think of it like GPS, but more precise, and it works indoors where GPS doesn't. And all you have to do is go to our website, you can download it, you can use it immediately, and add indoor location to your venue. It's 2.5 meters of accuracy in real time, and there's no infrastructure other than the ambient radio waves that are already in the air and our software library you run on your phone. At Wi-Fi Slam, we believe that all physical spaces should be as interactive as online. And just like the transition from pushing buttons on a smartphone to using gestures on a touchscreen, an even deeper expression of your mobile user's intent is their physical motion through a space. And those are the tools we want to empower you with and the things you can get from our website today.
Great. Dave, New Air. So you're using Bluetooth technology and building some apps. So tell us what you do.
Okay, so Dave Matthews, founder of a company called New Air. And we call it that because it's a new way to think about the airwaves. Your smartphone is not smart. It's a pacifier for us adults. When we're bored, we tap on the touch screen, we wake it up, and we tell it to do things. But this phone can see cell tower data. Some of them can see near field, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. And we take all those input mechanisms into our SDK, and we build plumbing that app developers can build on. So if you walk into your space, you can have your phone change maybe call forwarding, or when you park your car, we can have it drop a pin on a map to remind you where you parked your car. So for us, it's more about the actions and enabling other app developers or retailers to make their apps more intelligent based upon our plumbing.
Okay, so that's a quick overview of what all these guys do and the different levels of the stack to build applications. I'm going to ask a few questions to get started, and I'll look to the audience. If you have questions, I'd like to have plenty of time for you to ask those questions. It's a little hard to see, so if you get somewhere in the middle here, I'll be able to see you get your question. Let me start with a toss-up question for the panel. We know how GPS and outdoor location played out. Indoor, we spend 90% of our time indoors. So I gotta believe that indoor location is gonna be bigger than GPS and outdoor. First of all, do you agree, and what kinds of applications or areas do you see that indoor is really gonna take off? So anyone?
Let me get started. I'm super excited about the indoors, and the reason for it is, one, as you mentioned, we spend all of our time there, but more important, we make a lot of interesting decisions indoors, right? We're at a shopping mall, we're going to decide, whether I go to this store or that store to buy shoes, or I'm at an airport, I'm going to decide where I'm going to get my coffee before security, after security. We make a lot of decisions that have a financial impact indoors, and the indoor map and the indoor applications that are being built are there to help influence that decision. So there's a developer on our platform who is integrating with LinkedIn APIs with our conference maps, so you can find where your connections are at a conference. Walmart integrated product data with an indoor map, so you can find products. There's a hospital that's integrating wayfinding information, so you don't get lost looking for room 304. There's just a new era of location-based applications that are very personalized and very much relevant to us because of all the time we spend indoors that are being built.
Yeah, so to build on that, I think one thing that's really unique about the indoor space that's different from outdoors is that when you're outdoors, GPS sort of just gives everyone their location, and you're mostly on public roads or public places. When you get indoors, what we're trying to find is that venues actually want to be in complete control of their space. So for someone like Google to come out, they're not here, so we're just, to come out and sort of offer indoor location ubiquitously, whereas that works outdoors. Indoors, a grocery store might say, well, wait, I want to control the indoor location of my space, and I want to have the technology and run it myself and manage the data and control who sees what and what the experience is. And suddenly, it's a very different feel from a business perspective of what it takes to get location indoors to the venues themselves rather than just public spaces.
So Nathan, aisle 411, you're working with stores and venues to provide indoor location and product location, right?
That's right. And Don, I love your statement. Did everybody hear that? Indoor mapping will be bigger than outdoor. That's pretty awesome. That we're at that point. And we have focused, to your point, on how does indoor mapping facilitate commerce? And how do you create scale? Because we have a solution. I think, a lot of us on the panel here have solutions that people say, oh my gosh, if I had that available everywhere, that would be amazing. But you've got to get scale. And so we focused on retail for two reasons, because it facilitates commerce. So when you look at the mobile wallet, the digital coupons, the loyalty programs that are all happening and exploding every single day, there's a new company doing this, you've got to create searchability and discoverability inside of all these venues and these retail stores. To Joseph's point, when you look at many of these retailers, I think we're in the early phase where they're saying, wait a second, this is my store. This is my physical store, and I own this. But when it all plays out, I think every retailer is going to say, I've got to make that searchable and discoverable to the entire world. Because if I don't, how are they going to find me? And I heard one person say, there's an analogy of, two storefronts. One of them has black curtains drawn on the windows and the door. And it's like you can't see in, you don't know what's there. And the other one says, hey, we're open for business, the door's open, can I help you find anything? And I think in the end, we are going to see that retailers in every indoor space is going to say, make it available, make it searchable, because I can monetize it in new ways.
Just really quickly, I want to build on that. What's really interesting is we're all up here talking about retail, but to you guys who may be looking at indoor location from a broader point of view, within retail, scale is really interesting, but if you look at indoor location as a whole, it's actually a small number of high-value spaces, where location is really going to be critical moving forward. And so, scale on the one hand, but precision on the other. And it's a really...
So what are examples of some of those high-value locations and venues? Where is location going to be used first?
Maybe I can comment a little bit. I guess our view is that it's really all about delivering this wonderful context-aware experience to the mobile user. And retail is very important. It's not the only one. Venues like museums, education, venues like this. It's really all about enriching the user experience for the user. And in some ways, the user really doesn't want to care about whether it's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or inertial sensors or GNSS or Cell ID. And really, our mission, I guess, cumulatively as an industry is to make that accurate, always-on location available.
So Qualcomm is that hidden technology that's inside our phones. We don't even realize it's there, but you're working to make this ubiquitous. So you're using Wi-Fi and Cell ID and Bluetooth, every position technology available, you're bringing them all together and then making them available as an API to the handset manufacturers?
Exactly. That's really our vision, is to leverage every possible asset that's on the mobile to make position location just work with good time to responsiveness, with good accuracy at low power, as well as leveraging all possible forms of cloud-based assistance about your context. And yes, then to work with many of the people here and many others in the ecosystem to get this technology out to marketplace. One of the differences between the indoor ecosystem and outdoor was largely driven by carrier mandates, E911. It took maybe 10 years, from 2000 to 2010. We think indoor location ecosystem will be a lot faster. As was mentioned earlier, there's a lot of really cool and user-perceivable use cases which will drive it. There's commerce, there's retail, so we're extremely excited to be a part of this.
So in terms of indoor positioning technologies, Wi-Fi is an obvious one. That's pretty prevalent. Bluetooth is fairly ubiquitous. I've seen beacons. There are other beacon technologies that are kind of proprietary. I've seen, there's a company in Boston called Byte Light that uses LED lights and sends signals. There are accelerometers, all these kinds. So are there, of all of those technologies, is there any one that's more precise, faster, lower cost?
Yeah, so this our view on those technologies is it's very hard to force a venue to deploy infrastructure just for location. Similarly, it's very hard for a mobile phone maker to incur the cost on a mobile. So our view is to leverage stuff that's on the phone or infrastructure that's already in the building for communications and leverage that to make position location work. So it'll be, all indoor venues have Wi-Fi, so we definitely want to take advantage of that. Mobile phones have Wi-Fi, they also have GNSS and sensors, so that's really our vision, that forcing cost on a venue or on a mobile, it's a very high bar. So we really want to use our technology and algorithms and expertise and IP to leverage what's already there.
So you try to take advantage of all the positioning technologies.
Right.
But is there one, in your opinion, that's leading and more ubiquitous?
Yeah, so we had an announcement maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago on our precise indoor technology, which gives 3 to 5 meters on a mobile device with one fix every second. So that's using Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Don, let me add to that point. I think as a mapping company, we have a very unique view into the indoor positioning world because we talk to them about showcasing indoor positioning on our indoor maps. So today I'm tracking about at least 50 companies in the market who are in some way, shape, or form trying to do indoor positioning. It's the biggies like Qualcomm and Broadcom. It's a shout out to NextNav who's in the audience doing massive infrastructure deployment. It's Wi-Fi based, it's Bluetooth based. I think the more important thing on measuring which way is going to work, it comes back to the end use case. The objective is very simple. You got to know where somebody is at the aisle level inside a store, right? So if you can say I'm in aisle 12 versus aisle 14, that's the business case. So whoever gets there first and can deliver it is going to win the market. Ultimately, our bet is that indoor positioning will get built onto the device, just like you have GPS chips on the phone. The newer phones from Samsungs and HTCs and LGs of the world will have indoor positioning capabilities. But in the interim, for the next 12 to 18 months, a lot of these 50 companies that I'm talking about have deployments in different places, whether it's in a retail category or healthcare or enterprise, to showcase what they're able to do.
Yeah, so one thing Ankit touched on that's really insightful is that location isn't about necessarily the meters of accuracy, but rather the action that's taking place. And I'd love to sort of have Dave sort of chime in on.
Yeah, so if you think about what's been going on in indoor location, Best Buy, by putting QR codes at most of the heads of each of their rows of electronics, they really could know precise location if you were one of the 7 people on the planet that took out your phone and took a picture of that QR code. And for us, it's not really, I don't need to know the exact aisle, but if I dwell in the appliance section for 20 minutes, and if I have the Best Buy app on my phone, I know generally that person is either in need of some assistance, or maybe Sony sponsors that section of that Wi-Fi area for a period of time. And Sony could say, just as they might put a human being on the floor, I know HP does this, a lot of these manufacturers do in the big boxes, where they can assist you on promoting their goods. Well, if I dwell in the camera section, if I dwell in the appliance section, have the app that the retailer sends you, not just tell you where something is, but maybe push something, nudge you over the edge a little bit. So that's what we're thinking about in regard to actions versus the blue dot. And I like to use this analogy. When Google Maps mapped indoor spaces, one of the first things they did was airports like San Francisco and McCarran. And it was right before CES, my geek mecca. And I land in Vegas, and I'm at Terminal 38, and I want to find my friend at Terminal 41. And I type in Terminal 41, and I get whisked away on the map to a bar in Amsterdam. And I thought, now this is cool. But we use context of Yelp, things like this, to set a map, a perimeter around us. So when I'm in a new city, I love to eat. So I click on Yelp and then find what restaurants are around me, look at ratings, reviews, etc. And what's not happened in mapping is context. And that's why I'm excited to hear some of these initiatives where if I can, I might not be able to need to see where I'm going within the store because I can see from the aisles overhead. But if I know context about what's nearby and I'm looking at cameras on the web, and now when I'm in the store, that camera I was looking at is nearby. That's the future of context-aware computing.
You told me about an example where you use proximity and 2 people being able to find each other, and if they get too far away, it can trigger an action. So tell us more about that.
So thanks, Don. So we partnered with Alcatel-Lucent, who makes all the infrastructure that makes smartphones work. And they build the switching infrastructure that makes your phone ring, dial, everything. And their APIs are increasingly becoming more open. So guys like me can hack around the phone system. Now, 10 years ago, they didn't let us plug or maybe 25 years ago, they didn't let us plug our own phones into the wall. And now we get API access, so this is pretty cool. But what we've done is used a dumb phone, like your child's the phone you hand me down to your child, which beacons out its Bluetooth address. So our phones are always trying to connect. They're always trying to connect to your earpiece, your car, your Wi-Fi at home. So we use those beacons in phones, and they don't necessarily have to be smart. And running our technology on the parent smartphone, we can create what I call an elastic geofence. So geofencing technology has been around for a while, where I could draw a ring around a park, a ring around the school, and when my child leaves the school and walks by the park, I can get alerts set up to know that they've made it to that space. Well, we think that that was very cumbersome. Very few people did it. And the ability to use the beacon on the phone, you can now create a geofence that works all the time. So when I go with a child to a park, or when I'm at the school, or at, you name the venue, I can create this virtual invisible leash, and as a child walks away after it breaks Bluetooth range, which is around 100 feet in clear sight, then the switch tells both phones to ring. So just that action of separating the adult and the child creates a cloud-based initiative to dial and put both people in contact with one another.
Amazing stuff. So we have about 10 minutes left. Let's talk a bit about the applications that will emerge, and are there any early killer applications? Aisle 411 is focusing on commerce, but there could be location-based advertising, coupons, social applications like finding people, finding your friends, all sorts of different applications. What are you seeing as some of the big killer apps?
Let me share one with you that came to us sort of out of left field, where we had a developer sign up on our platform who works at a very large printing company. They make printers. And I was thinking to myself, what could we do with a printing company? Like, why did they sign up? So here was their use case. This particular printing company has a pretty large group of folks on their team who go and service the printers on a monthly or quarterly basis at all of their customer sites. So what they wanted to do was have maps of all of their business customers' buildings mapped out so that when their service technician gets to the building, he or she could get walking directions to each of the printers that had to be serviced, right? And it's a problem today that the service guy gets there and doesn't know where the printer is. And it was remarkable for us because we see examples like this all the time where once the map is there, the map is a visual canvas. It's a visual way to explore a place, and our customers are just finding different types of content, whether it's products in a retail store, printers for a business campus, attendees at a conference, just all kinds of interesting information that then gets added to the map to make that play, to solve a real need. And I think the printer example just came out of left field, but I think really shows the enterprise approach to indoor LBS.
So it could be used for manufacturing, where you're trying to find where's the manufacturing supervisor. It could be used in hospitals, where you're trying to find a specialist doctor or a nurse.
Real-time doctor tracking, yeah.
You've been in the hospital and you hear the intercom, Dr. Dodge, please report to whatever. Why don't they know where the doctors are?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think actually to build on what Ankit said, the business operations applications or business analytics, if you will be a huge driver for venues and enterprises to embrace indoor location. Then on the consumer side, to go back to your question, one that we were involved with recently in collaboration with Cisco, the Atlanta Fernbank Museum of Natural History. So you can imagine a museum of natural history. You've got an app when the child goes to a certain room in the museum, certain multimedia comes up on the phone about certain animals, and very much context aware based on your location. So we're very excited to work with them, with Cisco on that.
So Aisle 411 focuses on commerce. That's a fairly obvious one, being able to find products inside stores. You can imagine coupons or offers or advertising also tied to where. So have you seen any of that yet?
Well, my prediction for the killer app in indoors is a Groupon Now for in-store to a degree. And I think if you look at where this market's headed, when is that going to happen? I think we're probably 2 to 3 years from it, and here's why. I can't speak to all the details of a study that ABI Research just recently did. It's on indoor location, and you'll see most of us inside of that report. But they looked at the whole market for indoor location. And it was actually much bigger than the title of this, this panel. They actually estimate by 2017 it's going to be $4.7 billion. And that's a mix of like infrastructure, it's a mix of licensing, it's a mix of couponing and in-app advertising. But what has to happen is there has to be scale of coverage. And once you have scale of coverage, all of a sudden, every one of these developers is going to take notice and say, oh my gosh, look what I could do with like 50,000 locations across the country. And so when you see what becomes the biggest opportunity in this space is actually by these estimates, it's by far and away, it's like indoor location-based couponing. And imagine being able to walk in and discover, unique, tailored offers to you based upon where you are and what you're looking for in a store, instead of, the spa treatment that you might get today sent via email. I mean, it can really, all of a sudden you've got 50,000 SKUs that you're there, you're in the moment, you're ready to buy, and that becomes pretty awesome. But we've got some scalability right now we've got to get to in really covering all the real estate across the country and the world.
I think there's some other dynamics that are playing in retail as well. I mean, you're walking through that retail store, whose ads do you see, right? Do you see Amazon telling you, hey, you're shopping at Target, should you buy at Target? Do you get an ad for something from Walmart? I think there's going to be some interesting new issues that crop up. Just to add to Nathan's point, that same ABI research report mentioned that by 2015, the target is 500,000, 500,000 places to be mapped out. And I think that's really interesting. I mean, our focus is on building out that mapping content, and our focus is on that number. It's a very important number because it becomes ubiquitous. I mean, any building you go into, whether it's a convention center or a shopping mall or a college campus building or a retail store or an airport or a museum, should be mapped out, and your experience should be personalized for you while you're there.
So two other areas, social location. So if you're on a university campus and you want to know where are your friends, well, they're indoors somewhere. So applying indoor location technology to social applications and knowing where your friends are, that's one. Another is games. So I've talked with lots of game developers who have games that could take advantage of indoor location if it were there and do some pretty interesting things. So have you seen anything in those two areas?
Yeah, so there's a very fine line between sort of full augmented reality, interactive physical spaces, and then the underlying indoor location that sort of powers that. And we're already seeing games that are driven by augmented reality. And Foursquare sort of pioneered an entire world of sort of location-based games, and we're just sort of waiting and watching that momentum build up until it sort of hits in the middle, and it's some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I remember 5-6 years ago when Looped first started at Stanford University, and I thought it was such a great idea. You could find your friends on a map. And that was around the same time when we were getting started at Mycelo, and I was like, hey, if I have all the maps of college campus buildings, it'd be so cool to be able to find your Facebook friends inside a campus. I think being able to find people, and I think indoor positioning is key for this, being able to find people, LinkedIn friends at a conference, Facebook friends at a college campus is going to be, I think, a really interesting solution. I think what's holding it back today is we got to have more maps, more coverage, and I think the go-to-market for some of the indoor positioning companies, many of them have 1, 2, 5, or 10 deployments. I think the market is looking for a breakaway success for indoor positioning that everyone can use.
So how is this market going to shake out? Is it going to be application developers building unique apps that take advantage of all of this? Are they going to be the winners? Or is it going to be infrastructure providers like New Air and Wi-Fi Slam and others that are providing this, and developers will pay them a lot of money? Or will it all get incorporated into maps like Google Maps and Yahoo Maps? Or will it go even further down the stack and be in Qualcomm chips and just in the device? How do you think that's going to shake out?
What's really interesting is that it's still, I think there's still tons, if you look at the internet today, most of the money is made in whether it's marketing, advertising, or commerce. And games are there and entertainment is there, but the bulk of the money and continuing to grow is advertising and commerce. And so I would answer it sort of from a different point of view. It's not a particular layer on the stack that's going to make money, but it's a particular industry that's going to drive progress in this field, and sort of there's tons of room up and down the stack to sort of be part of the ecosystem there.
In the evolution right now, we're crawling, right? Yeah. So I cannot wait for the walk and run, and we're going to do some hackathons to get people that have not thought about proximity to start thinking about it, because I think that there's apps that we haven't even thought of that'll emerge from this. And personally, our company is really looking to get into the chip, and we took an investment from Intel Capital this year to build it lower into the silicon, so it should be inherent within this. Just as your phone automatically connects to your car's Bluetooth, we think proximity within apps will be inherent in just a few years.
So from the technology stack point of view, there are opportunities from the chip level all the way up to the application level. So there's plenty of opportunities for anyone to innovate there. What about on the market segments? Is it going to be retail? Is it going to be games? Is it going to be social? Which of those vertical markets do you think are going to be the early adopters?
I think some markets just move faster than others. I think this year in 2012, I think retail got a really big push with Walmart, Walgreens, and some other retailers embracing indoor mapping, indoor positioning. I think other markets like healthcare tend to be a little bit slower because the life cycle and time to adopt a map of a hospital just takes longer. Conferences, I think, is one that everyone loves to map out because then you can showcase it to a bunch of people. And I think the one that I don't think is getting a lot of attention but is moving relatively quickly is the enterprise campus maps. So enabling employees to find each other at a gigantic business campus, or integrating with your calendar and conference room scheduler so you can find the conference room. The enterprise campus maps, I think, are there, but there hasn't been a lot of visibility for that vertical yet. But all of these different buildings types, if you will, whether it's retail or conference or enterprise campus maps, they're all kind of evolving at their own pace and embracing the indoor mapping, indoor positioning technologies.
Well, I guess our view, just to build on that, is I think there'll be a number of entities in the ecosystem that will have to come together. Clearly, the handset makers is very important. The mobile OS providers, the Google, and Microsoft, and Apple are extremely important here too. Clearly, the venues are very important. As was mentioned earlier, there are some elements of that they wish to have some amount of control about what's happening in their venues, yet they want to have a lot of app developers write for their platform. So there's a balance there, which is interesting. Also, the wireless LAN infrastructure providers, the Cisco, for example, those kind of people who already have wireless LAN infrastructure deployed, and others in that domain, and also standards. We were one of the companies to help initiate a group called the Indoor Location Alliance to try to help standardize how venue information is delivered to a mobile. So I think it'll be a number of elements in this ecosystem, but as I think as was mentioned, there's a huge demand for this kind of stuff.
Well, I'm on record as saying indoor location is the next big thing. It's going to be gigantic. And I could talk about this all day long, but unfortunately we're out of time. So thank you all very much for your attention, and thank you for joining us.